Hey folks, welcome back to Indaba Africa. This is Chris, and it's with a heavy heart that I once again report on the lawless state of civil society in South Africa. This tragedy unfolded on Friday night, the 12th of February, 2021, in Brits, a town located not far from Hartbeespoort Dam, just north of there. When at 2200 in the evening, after spending an evening at a local cricket club, Chris Malan, 19, and his friend Dieter Grabie, 22, were walking home from the cricket club on Deventer Street when they were assaulted by 5 black men. Now, why were they walking the street? Well, not particularly germane, but someone had given them a lift and then was headed in the other direction. So dropped them on a street in Brits, and then Chris called his mother to collect them. Shortly after that 5 men jumped them, and as they were attacked by these men, as one attempted to stab Chris Malan, Dieter Grabie pulled his friend away, but unfortunately the knife was plunged into his chest. Now Malan managed to grab Grabie and flee to a nearby petrol station where the attendants called for assistance. Grabie had been stabbed in the lung. He later died in the hospital, age 22. As we walked past the park, I noticed something in the park, and I told Dieter to put away his phone, and we hurriedly walked on. The next moment, 5 men jumped us. One tried to stab me, but Dieter pulled me back, and the knife entered his chest, said Chris Malan. My first thought was to get Dieter away from the men. I grabbed him and started running, but after a few meters he collapsed, and I picked him up and ran to the nearby fuel station. I never even looked back to see if the attackers were following us. We were like brothers. Dieter saved my life. It was a senseless attack. They did not rob us. It was just murder. Grabie's parents got the word around 2300 Friday evening that their son was in the hospital in Brits. The doctors explained that Dieter had been stabbed in the lung and there's nothing they could do. Nothing more could be done. His father, Dirk, told the press that his son was a legend and he died as he lived, always ready to give his last for others. And a touching and very sad development in this situation, Chris Malan later shared with the press that Dieter's last words to him were, "Bota, I promise you, nobody will ever touch you." This goes back to when they became friends back in school, 2008, and he said he'd always stand up for his friend. Folks, the senseless slaughter of innocent people in South Africa continues unabated. Now, this particular attack was 5 black men jumping 2 young white men. But black men jump black men. People get murdered all the time in South Africa. When will the world begin to take notice that South Africa's horrific 60 murders a day on average? Here's another one in Brits, a quiet community, quiet rural farming community. Why? As of today, there are no arrests in this murder. Not a robbery, a murder. Why were these young men attacked? Were they attacked because someone's out for a joyride? This is what they do for fun? Or was it more likely they were murdered because, or he was murdered because they're white? We don't know the answers to that question. What we do know is that the senseless tragedy, this murder, is just one of 60 each and every day in South Africa. When apartheid ended, South Africa and the African National Congress had an opportunity. They had an opportunity to transform the South African police service from a police force that was very effective at what it was supposed to do, which was primarily protect the white minority and to persecute the black majority who deigned to cause trouble for the government. They're quite effective at this. But the end of apartheid called for something quite different. Community policing, forensics, a functioning justice system to prosecute people who committed crimes. Instead, South Africa's justice system is a pathetic joke. Its police service underfunded, poorly led, corrupt. While there are many loyal, hardworking, effective law enforcement officers amongst the South African Police Service, 187,000 personnel. There are also plenty of corrupt and malignant members as well. especially at the higher levels. Just today, we read in the newspapers that the president of South Africa has inquired about another corruption scandal within the police that may touch as high as Beckett Cele himself. It's pathetic, folks. It's really sad what's going on. This story is barely carried by the press. I only found this story on alternative media sites and blog sites in South Africa. All of the information I've supplied to you comes from those sites, and I cannot attest to its veracity. What I can tell you, though, is that aside from the Afrikaans language version of News 24, there's no coverage of the story at this hour. It occurred on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Didn't make the papers. It's pathetic, folks. Life is cheap in South Africa, and the government doesn't give a flying flip. Beyond sad. To the brave and courageous Dieter Grabie, who intervened and is the reason most likely that Chris Malan is still alive today. Rest in peace, brother. You were taken far too young.